pre-event discussion that we had. Now I think we will start. Mr. Garnik, should we begin now?
Yeah, we are ready. If the participants, okay. I don't know how many participants have joined. More than
we have got around 60 plus.
That's fine. Let's go ahead. People will join subsequently.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to this innovative approach for implementing integrated energy efficient solutions in industries and facilities. And we have a very distinguished panel with us today. Let me welcome Mr. D.P. Goyal, who is the chairman of our industry committee, and Mr. Mayur Karmakar, Managing Director, ICA India. Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jain is the Deputy General Manager, DCM Shriram Industries Limited. Then we have none other than Mr. S.P. Garnik, Executive Director, EESL. Thank you very much, Mr. Garnik. And we have Mr. Abhishek Dhupar, Program Consultant, ICA India. Then we have Dr. Anand Shukla, AGM, EESL in this program today. This is a very important program for the industry, as energy efficiency is extremely important to save the energy as well as to reduce the carbon footprints. So to begin the program, I would first invite Mr. D.P. Goyal to give the welcome remarks for today's program and set the theme. Over to you, Mr. Goyal.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Good morning. I take pleasure in welcoming Mr. S.P. Garnik, Executive Director, EESL, Mr. Mayur Karmakar, Managing Director, ICA India, Mr. Abhishek Dhupar, Program Consultant, ICA India, Dr. Anand Shukla, AGM, EESL, senior officials from Government of India, participants from all parts of the country and overseas, ladies and gentlemen. We are pleased to welcome you all to this interactive session on innovative approach for implementing energy efficient solutions in industries and facilities, organized by PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry in partnership with India Office of ICA and EESL. PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, established in 1905, is a proactive national apex chamber working at the grassroots level and with strong national and international linkages. The chamber acts as a catalyst in the promotion of industry, trade, and entrepreneurship. PSD Chamber, through its research-based policy, advocacy role, positive impacts the economic growth and development of the nation. PSD Chamber is more than an organization of the business community, as it lives by the chosen motto in community's life and part of it, and contributes significantly on socio-economic development and capacity building in several fields. Companies seeking to improve their bottom line in the current economy, where they see flat or declining revenues, need to start taking a closer look at their operating costs to find efficiencies. Energy is one of the items that is a significant portion of the operating cost and is often not well managed at a central level, given its distributed consumption across multiple facilities in the company. The emergence of energy efficient equipments, smart automation, and Internet of Things technologies present cost efficient options to tame this wastage and to capture its benefits to the company bottom line in a transparent and data driven manner. CFOs must take notice, because investment in energy efficiency has the potential to deliver returns in the impressive range of 17 to 22% per annum over a period of 2 years, and the returns can be even higher if the cost of energy were to increase in that period. Within manufacturing environments, energy efficiency importance has grown, and it is now considered among other decision-making factors such as productivity, cost, and flexibility. Options of energy efficiency can be adopted with diverse approaches and different stages. Cross-cutting options are also available, such as motors, transformers, compressors, air conditioners, etc. Motors and motor-driven systems are huge consumers of electricity. They are estimated to account for almost 45% of all global electricity consumption. Therefore, improvement in motor efficiency must be a part of any comprehensive energy conservation effort. EESL, which is a joint venture of PSUs under the Power Ministry, has been spearheading the Indian government's initiatives towards the adoption of energy efficient alternatives in the country. After successful implementation of the flagship programs like Ujala, SLNP, BEEP, Smart Meter, etc., EESL is planning to target industrial sector where EESL is providing integrated energy efficient solutions which comprises LED-based lighting, IE motors, and super efficient air conditioners. We from PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry are committed to working with the government in promoting energy efficiency in industries. With that, I would like to welcome you all to this important webinar, and I'm sure the deliberations and the inputs from experts from the sector will benefit one and all in this present competitive scenario. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. You brought very important points. Even the investment in energy efficiency also provides the returns. Definitely in a business, anywhere you invest, you definitely require, you definitely need investments. So this investment does not go waste, and it also contributes in turn to the environmental concerns, also reduces the carbon footprints. It's extremely important, and we are very thankful that EESL has come out with such a scheme. As for the industries, maybe that some of the industries, even most of the industries till today, may not be aware of this very important and innovative scheme, because that's the reason that this program is being conducted as an awareness, also to make aware in industries, and so that they can think about replacing those motors. Now, in this, I would like to invite Mr. Mayur Karmakar, who is the Managing Director of International Copper Association, for his address and set the context for today's webinar. Over to you, Mr. Karmakar.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranjit. Thank you, Goyal sir. You know, if you would have thought 1 year ago that, you know, this webinar or video call, is it practical? Is it effective? But COVID has taught us that, you know, the information technology can be deployed for, you know, day-to-day life, particularly what we have seen in the accelerated growth of coronavirus here in India and its detrimental effects to our economy, which are very evident and profound. Although policymakers are definitely helping us in fighting that disease and also looking ways and means to mitigate the economic impact, we ourselves have to also be, you know, more proactive here. As the costs are slowing down, as the overall economics activities are slowing down, definitely we will continue adhering to social distancing and reduce our unnecessary mobility, which will emerge as the best way to fight against corona. Indeed, you know, PhD chamber and along with other industry chamber are working relentlessly in order to assist government and industry to tide over this pandemic and keep also socio-economic conditions optimal under the current circumstances. During these days, no, we need to work together for the immunity. Now, let the immunity be for COVID-19, let the immunity from the economic impact. And definitely this is the right time for us to see how we can increase our immunity for the energy particularly and become more energy resilient overall, improve our productivity. So I consider this pandemic is an opportunity for us to think and look beyond what we see. This is a famous quote from the movie Lion King, and I think look beyond what you see is far more important for the Indian industry at the moment, and energy becomes the very important part into planning for the future. Now, various studies have shown that the energy saving potential exists from 15 to 13%, depending on the type of industry overall. And definitely, ESL, like organization, has set up the example for the world to bring the innovative business models in order to address barriers which are particularly higher initial cost of a technology. Then also how the payback period can be improved by reducing the cost, by reducing the interest cost, and addressing the typical challenge which particularly the SME has is about the paucity of funds, working capital, and also the the fixed asset investment ability. So how we can have a technology at the lower cost, and the payback period for the technology can be faster. Now, ESL, by virtue of its organization mandate, they are here also to avoid the technical risks. So, you are outsourcing the entire energy model to ESL, and they are also helping, to improve the awareness. And I think this webinar is one of the examples that how this awareness also can be addressed. Now, we as an International Copper Association, as an advocate for energy efficiency, energy sustainability, green growth, we are proud to associate with ESL in this mission. Now, today, ESL experts will explain you about the programs which are relevant for your business and what innovations of ESL can help you to address the barriers you have today in your day-to-day life. With that, I think we are very keen to see and listen to ESL experts and see how we can improve our energy productivity overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Karmakar. Definitely, you have to look beyond what you see. That's very important. And technology has, in fact, been a great enabler, not only in our businesses, but also in our personal life. And it had changed the way we have been in last at least 3 months. The whole world had changed, and the way we are conducting our meetings, the way we are making payments, and so many other things have changed. That is with the intervention of the technology that we have. Now with this, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jain. He's the Deputy General Manager of DCM Shriram Industries. It's a very important industry who have got many businesses. And Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jain would give us his perspective. Over to you, Mr. Jain. We all are keen to listen to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Ranjit. Good morning, Mr. D.P. Goyal, Shri D.K. Agarwal, President, PhD, CCI, Shri S.P. Garnaik, Executive Director, ESL, Shri Mayur Karmakar, Managing Director, ICA India, Shri Abhishek Dhupar, Program Consultant, ICA India, Dr. Anand Shukla, AGM, EESL, participants from all parts of the country and overseas. Ladies and gentlemen, manufacturing has changed its focus and approach from pure cost to quality, productivity, and delivery performance in the last couple of decades. Currently, the new topic of interest that has gained significant attention for the industry is energy efficiency, mainly due to major environmental and economic impacts associated with consumption of energy. The change of approach in the industrial world stemmed from the global drivers for improving energy efficiency, such as climate change, scarcity of resources, and energy supply, as well as the industrial drivers, including rising energy prices, ever stricter legislations, customer demand, and awareness, along with competitiveness, has pushed energy efficient manufacturing to the top of the agenda for both government and the companies. As such, we, the companies, have been feeling the pressure and are on a constant lookout as to how the processes, methods, and structures can become more energy efficient. It is important for manufacturers to understand energy use and identify the ways they can keep energy costs as low as possible. Over the past decades, the demand for goods has increased. So has the demand for energy. However, the sustainability movement demands the use of more energy efficient production methods. In order to achieve this, the manufacturing world has to evolve from maximum gain from minimum capital strategy to maximum gain from minimum resources. The availability and affordability of energy is becoming a critical parameter affecting the whole life cycle of the product and subsequently the production phase as well. Manufacturing accounts for more than 30% of the global total energy consumption, according to IEA, the International Energy Agency. There is significant potential for further energy and carbon dioxide savings through the application of proven technologies and best practices. On a global scale, adopting such approaches could save something between 25 to 37 exajoules of energy per year, which roughly represents 18 to 26% of current primary energy use in the industry. Conducting energy assessments can increase energy systems efficiency and reduce energy costs for industrial facilities. Many systems in industrial facilities like lighting, motors, boilers and steam systems, process heating systems, HVAC systems and fans, etc. can benefit from such an energy assessment. There are many opportunities for reducing energy costs for each of these systems, and these opportunities encompass a wide range of implementation costs. Some opportunities require a very little or no capital in implement, while others can extend as far as replacing an entire system requiring a large amount of capital investment. However, whatever be the mode, the fact remains that it is most crucial for the industry to reduce its manufacturing cost, and the low-hanging fruits of reducing the energy costs can make the industry achieve this objective. A cost-effective industry will be competitive also in the overseas market. This will take us a step further in the direction of our common dream vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. With this, I thank you for inviting me to this important webinar, and I am sure the deliberations and the inputs from the experts from the sector will benefit the industry in particular and our nation in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jan. You have brought out very important point. One is the, efficiency is required, in fact, to compete globally. And today we are in a global market. And of course, with energy efficiency, we reduce the cost. When you reduce the cost, of course, there's a more profit for the business. That is why these kind of solutions are extremely important. Even they help the environment. They are very environment friendly, reduce the carbon footprints. Thank you very much, Mr. Jan. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a keynote address from the Executive Director of EESL, Mr. S.P. Karnik, who is going to give us more about the scheme. Over to you, Mr. Karnik, and we are really very keen to listen to your presentation here today.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta and all my co-panelists here. It's a pleasure to be amongst all of you in this COVID-19 scenario. In fact, I wish all of you and your family, near and dear ones, to be in a very safe position wherever you are. Yes, in fact, although this is a very big challenge for us, how to deal with the present, ongoing business and our work systems and so on and so forth. But it has also thrown a lot of opportunities and food for thought for all of us. People have already spoken about what is the importance of this energy, or as I say, the resource, and why the conservation of such resources, such our energy sources, are very, very important in our day-to-day practices. Particularly when we come to the industrial sector or the manufacturing sector, this matter becomes more and more prominent. 30 to 40% of your total operating cost, it goes to the energy cost, depending upon sector to sector and industry to industry. So if you go a little bit past 2 decades back, during 2000 or 2001, when the Energy Conservation Act came into force, so that has actually gave a lot of momentum to various sectors, not only the industrial sector, to think how the energy optimization can happen at our energy end users. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see to the past, go to the 80s or even 90s or even during that period, it was a supply side management. When you keep pace on with an economic growth, you need more and more energy to be used. So when you need more and more energy, probably at that point the only management outlook was to put more and more power plants, put more and more from the supply side. So it was a supply side management. So putting a 1 megawatt of power plant, probably it can, at the present rate, it can be 6 crore, 7 crore rupees. Apart from that, you will have to have land, you will have to have water, you will have to have so many environmental clearances and such things. So, but when you go on, with our economic growth, when we are growing by 6 to 7% every year, so this supply side management was a huge challenge. Then the thought came, can we not have something from the demand side or the usage side? Because that is where the energy intensity comes into picture. I think you understand what energy intensity means. Energy intensity is that how much energy you are consuming to produce 1 unit of GDP or 1 unit of your outputs. So if you see, our energy intensity is very, very high as compared to other developing or even developed countries. So that gives a kind of, question for us just to think why our energy intensity is high. We may be having not understanding how to utilize the energy in a proper way. We may have the equipment or the technology which are obsolete or that is not energy efficient. We don't know how to manage our wastage, so and so forth. So energy audit, the diagnostic studies, those things came into picture. And people went on doing these things and find out where are the avenues where this energy saving can be possible. But the Energy Conservation Act, which I said little while ago, so that is actually, that put some time, some thought on how to, accelerate the things in a much better way. There are certain regulatory compulsions should that. I think you understand the performance event trade scheme, where the large-scale industrial sectors have been given some targets to reduce their specific energy consumption from one level to the other level with a period of about 3 years' time. And when I was in Bureau of Energy Efficiency and managing this program as a director there, so I could understand how this scheme can be how it can actually transform the entire market into the place. Recently, I was involved in a study conducted by FICCI, and I was one of the experts to review those study things. And what it says in the first cycle of the PAT scheme, which started in the year 2012 and ended in 2015, it says that about 34,000 crores of investments have been done in 426 number of industries in 8 energy intensive sectors. What does it mean? That means there was a regulatory compulsion. People have to reduce their energy consumption, specific energy consumption from one level to the other level. And that gives a momentum, a management outlook to rethink on it, and the investments come forward. Now the point is that those are big industries, or maybe they were compelled by certain things because there is a question of penalty if those who are not attending or achieving the targets, or they have to buy the certificates from the market. So that is energy saving side. I'm not going into the details of that, but that's the thing actually created a kind of momentum in our industrial sector. But ladies and gentlemen, if you just see, coming back to the 2008 and 2009, there was a little bit change. There was the National Action Plan on Climate Change came into force. And there was a National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency, which categorically addresses so many things, not only the industrial sector, the municipality sector, the agricultural sector, the building sector, all these things put together, because they consume about 60 to 70% of your total primary energy consumption in the country. So those are the things. Actually, there was certain look into this entire, from the policy side and all. But now the point is that even if our industries, which are consuming about 30 to 35% of the energy, of the total energy consumption of the country, how this will be actually taken forward? Because when you talk a new energy efficiency, if I just give an example, energy efficiency comes with a new technology altogether. And when there is a new technology, there is a cost involved to it. So nobody takes that challenge. If I go with a new technology, you are an energy user, you are an industry owner, I will tell that, sir, this technology will save you 20 to 25% or 15 to 20% of the energy per annum. He will say that has anybody actually deployed it, because he does not want to take the first risk. So that's the biggest challenge. Nobody wants to take the first risk, and he wants to see whether it has been demonstrated somewhere or not. Number one. Number two, if at all he understands about this technology, the second challenge is who is going to invest. I don't have money in my pocket, although I appreciate your technology, but there is no finance involved. I mean, finance constraint is there with me. So that gives these two things I personally feel during my last 25, 26 years of career. So that these are the two things actually gives a kind of a hindrance to move this energy efficiency in a much faster way, the way it should have been possible. But that's the thing. That is where the EESL, which is an entity under administrative control of Ministry of Power, that came forward to take these two risks. So what does it mean? Brings the new technology, fix the technical specification, reach out to the people, demonstrate it wherever possible, and see the actual energy saving which is achieved. At the same time, also bring the investment. That's the point I'm making here, ladies and gentlemen. We bring the investment to your at your place, and the end user, you need to pay me back from the monetized energy saving which you are getting. What does it mean? There are a lot of programs available in India, which is driven by ESL. The flagship program, Mr. Goel already told, that is the Ujala program, the domestic efficient lighting program, the street lighting national programs. These are the programs are operating at certain scale, which is unimaginable, and these are the largest DSM level programs in the world. But going forward, so if you see this, we designed various programs, lighting programs, the motor efficiency program, the motor replacement program. There is a super efficient air conditioner program. We thought that these technologies can be standardized. Let me give one example. The example is that the motor replacement program, if you just see, what does it mean? You are using the motors which is driving a pump or a blower or a fan or a compressor and so on and so forth in your industry. And numerous motors ranging from 1 HP to multiple hundreds of HPs are used. And they are directly driven, they are coupled with belts, they are coupled with gears, they are coupled with, so many variable frequency drives and so on and so forth. But the point is that this is the motor system. If I consider only motor, which is actually, you may be using a substandard or maybe a standard which is below than the acceptable standard of the motor in India. What does it mean? You may be using a motor which is of IE1 class. I think my colleague will explain you more detail about that. I'm just giving a flavor to this. But the recent quality order from Government of India says that the motor which would be used by industries or which will be sold in the Indian soil should be of minimum IE2 level. So that IE2 level of motor has to be the minimum, that's the minimum level which the quality order says, and that have certain efficiency. Then ESL thought, why can't we go beyond IE2 level, which will actually qualify to the compliance requirement of the Government of India. But IE3 level will actually give more efficiency, 4 to 8%, 4 to 10%, depending upon the size of the motor, more efficiency than the IE1 class. So we are going much beyond than that. But at the same time, the moment we go to IE3 level, and the cost will definitely go up. And that is where, when I briefed this thing to the Honorable Power Minister some time back, he also asked me the same question, that what will happen? The cost will go up. How will you deal with this? Nobody is going to come and purchase your motors. But the point is that, is there a question of demand aggregation? If we aggregate the demand, because the motors are same, you are using 4-pole, you are using 6-pole motors, you are using flange mounted or foot mounted motors, and if the entire technical specification can be standardized, which we did with talking to the various manufacturers and the stakeholder consultation, the moment we do this, and if I go for a bulk procurement, then probably I can reduce the price, and that is exactly what we did. The moment we go for procuring about 50,000 number of motors of various classes, the cost of the price, the cost of the motor, the price of the motor came down about 20% from the retail price. Number one, that's the value proposition number one. If I go and implement, and then next point is that the industry does not have to think anything else, because the motors can be supplied directly, procured by ESL, supplied by ESL, and even if some investment can also be made by ESL. That means there is no upfront burden to the industry at all. But there is a calculation to be seen, which we call it as a deemed saving approach, where the difference in your baseline scenario, IE1 level energy consumption and IE3 level energy consumption, that this difference, if you multiply it by the number of hours of operation and your unit rate, the probability that's the monetized energy saving you will be getting in a year period. And you pay back to us in a quarterly installments. So if a project period is say 3 years or 4 years, probably in 16 installments you pay back to us. But mind it, ladies and gentlemen, it does not include only the motor cost. It will include motor cost. There is a project management cost of ESL, because ESL is taking the entire responsibility. The third one is there is a cost of financing, because the moment we are going to invest, there would be some equity portion, there will be some debt portion also. We raise the funding from the banks, so we have to pay the interest to them. And if I am putting my equity, there is a return on equity to be ensured. So if I add all these things together, that becomes project cost. But still, it becomes very win-win situation for the industries from the monetized energy saving to make the repayment back to ESL. What we have seen, sir, we have seen about 60 to 70% of the monetized energy saving is paid back to ESL. Rest 20 to 30% is actually retained by the industry. So this is actually a win-win situation. The industry does not have to bother anything. They are getting a good quality product, because the products have been procured from the open bidding process. So quality brandeds are there. The investment is done by ESL, and you are paying without any upfront investment. You are just paying with some quarterly installments. The third one is that there is an extended warranty. If you take the motor case, the warranty typically you get is about 18 months or 1.5 years. But in this case, we are giving about 3 years warranty period. So there is an extended warranty. There is no procurement hassle. There is no investment burden to you. And what else you can get? Ladies and gentlemen, we did this exercise in many plants. Let me give one more example of Mahindra and Mahindra, Mumbai, where it's not Mumbai, it is actually 18 plants located across India. And that was a classic case, and I was fully involved in that project. So I know how beautifully that project, it gave the result. There we did as a package. That is why we call it as integrated energy efficiency services model. What is that package? We gave 4 options to them. One, completely replacing their industrial lights with LED lights. So we replaced about 1.8 lakh number of lights in their 18 plant locations. We replaced about 2,000 number of motors of various locations, various applications. Third, we replaced about 50,000 or 1,200 numbers of air conditioners, which were used by their own applications in your own building or office applications, with our super efficient AC product. This our super efficient AC product, Dr. Anand Shukla will give you more detail about air. That product is not available in the Indian market. And that's the technical specification we fixed, and all these things. With that product, we also gave that solution to them. That's the fourth solution what we brought is the tri-generation. The tri-generation is such a beautiful technology. It actually improves the efficiency or reduces the energy cost reduction like anything. As the name suggests, tri-generation produces 3 things from a single source. So that single source is actually the natural gas. If you have a natural gas supply, or if you have supply in and around your premises, that can be effectively utilized to run a gas generator to produce the electricity. The moment you produce electricity, there will be certain, from the gas, there will be certain exhaust gas. I think you understand the technology much better. It's a gas engine. And that exhaust gas goes in about 400, 450 degrees centigrade, which is very, very high. We capture that waste heat. And that waste heat, in any case, it would have been going up outside towards the atmosphere. And you take portion of that waste heat to run a vapor absorption machine to produce the cooling. So you get some cooling. And a partial of that waste heat can go for a heating purpose also. Ladies and gentlemen, we tried this in one of the factories in Mahindra and Mahindra, which is under implementation right now. I think it will be the final operational things will happen by September or October because of the COVID situation, lockdown situation. It got little bit delayed. But what it says, it is actually installed in their paint shop. That paint shop has the requirement of heating, has the requirement of their own cooling, and what has the requirement of their electricity things. So we are putting a 800 kilowatt machine there, 800 kilowatt generator there, and that will supply to electricity consumption to various, not only the paint shop, but also the nearby shops. But the cooling, it will generate about 100 TR. And there would be certain heating things which can go for a preheating of the air or preheating of the material. So overall, what it sees, because the cooling is reduced, utilized from the waste heat. So that 100 TR AC, if this is not there, they would have made from the grid to produce that cooling. So that is the reduction in the thing. So if you see the overall system efficiency, it goes from even 30% to even as high as 75% or 80% to that. So this is one of the programs which ESL is going to. It already we have a very good portfolio for that. We are trying to do it in few of the airports. We are trying to do it in the in some of the commercial hotels and commercial hospitals. I mean private hospitals. So those are the things we are trying to do. Those are the new technologies. So the fourth and final, the next one is that we need to go for a resource conservation approach. You are talking about energy, energy, and energy. Does it stop there? You look into our manufacturing system, sir. The point here is that we have other resources which needs to be equally acknowledged, equally given importance. One is the water consumption, the water conservation. You are having waters, and to pump any water or any fluid, you need energy. But have we ever done any kind of water balancing in our industry? Probably you may have done, but it has not been taken as on a mission mode. So we should know what is the input water I am taking, where are the losses, where the waters are going, and where is the water is going at the lowest stage. You will get, if you do a comprehensive study, you will get a very fascinating output, and probably it can be eye-opener to all of you. And if you reduce those wastages, significantly it will reduce your energy consumption, because there is an energy water nexus. And I think we understand all these things. The third point, what I meant to say in the resource conservation is the lubricants. How many of we have really done a lubricant conservation or a lubricant consumption study in our plant? Probably nil, zero. And lubricant is also, because it is a very precious resource for you. It comes from our petroleum products, where 70 to 80% of our petroleum products, the crude oil is being brought from the outside. Do you know, I think I had done a lot of calculations, studies on this front, but I'm just putting it here is that this is one of the neglected area in our industry. And these are all low-hanging fruits. You may be having lubricants of 20 or 25 types used in your industry. Out of them, probably 8 or 9 types of the lubricants will be fast-moving. The rest of the things will be slow-moving or the medium-moving. If you just see your storage system or your store management, probably you can find out how many lubricants are laying idle since long. So you are having an inventory carrying cost, you are having inventory blockage cost also. Is it not a loss to you? Then, but where are you going ahead? We are going ahead. What I am proposing it here that, ladies and gentlemen, please try to understand how can I expand the life of the lubricant? Because you are replacing the lubricant on a time-based replacement after 5,000 hours, after 6,000, because OEM says that. Can we not go beyond that on a condition-based replacement? You replace the oil wherever its life or its parameters are lost or have already been gone. Don't replace it with the with a time-based approach. You may argue with me, but OEM says that, because that's okay. If OEM says that, we cannot take that risk in the critical equipment. But what about the non-critical equipment? So in this case, what we have seen, I did the study in NTPC plants sometime back, 20 years back. And there are about 25 to 30% of saving could be possible without doing any investments. It is just a kind of management things. It's a kind of data management. It's a kind of spare parts management logic is applied there. and with some simple methodologies, you can reduce this consumption. So we can address energy, we can address water, we can address lubricants to give it a full fitting reply or full fitting solution to our industries. ESL would be very happy to support in this forward in this year, not only bringing the new technologies to the place, but also bringing the investments and new ideas. We are giving the solutions on the solar. I'm not going to touch upon that, time is short. Apart from that, there is a need of the capacity building of our fellow industrial people. How many of these people really know what are the government schemes? How many of our people know how to manage a compressed air system? How many of your people know about how to manage our pump operations or pump operating situation? How many of you know regarding the motor rewinding situation? These are the burning issues. I did a study in Faridabad some time back on behalf of World Bank. What it says that if once a motor fails and you take it for a rewinding, in whatever manner the rewinding is done, you lose about 1% of your efficiency for each rewinding. And how many times our motor go for rewinding in a typical situation, you can imagine. I'm just giving some example. The numbers may vary from case to case. But if you are doing 3 times of rewinding, 3% efficiency is lost. So just replacing the motor with IE3 does not help. You have to improve your operational practices. People should know the basic fundamentals of preventive maintenance, basic fundamentals of predictive maintenance. So maintenance technique, resource conservation approach will give you a total energy solution. Ladies and gentlemen, I think if this is the time, we should not waste anything on debate or speaking or any conferences. It's the time for action. And if you feel that bringing the investment or money is one of the constraints, probably I will not agree with that point. That's not a proper issue. Investments could be done. It's a things that we have to think out of box. We have to think away from the conventional thinkings. So I think today's deliberation will discuss much more to that. So our integrated energy efficiency model is bringing all these solutions to your table. You may choose one, you may choose many, or even if you have some more idea where ESL can take it forward, probably we have not addressed that. Then probably we can think to bring it as a national program kind of thing. With these few words, I thank you very much, PhD Chamber of Commerce, for giving me this opportunity. It's a wonderful and wonderful feeling, and I look forward to a very, very fruitful interaction going ahead in today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garning. It was extremely captivating presentation by you, and how you connected the supply side management of 90s and till today, how the whole sector had transformed, and why this energy efficiency is extremely important in today's time. And thank you very much for your extremely delightful speech in this program. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Mr. Abhishek Dhupar, who is a program consultant, ICA India, for his presentation on National Motor Replacement Program. Mr. Abhishek Dhupar. Mr. Dhupar, are you there? Mr. Karmakar, I think Mr. Dhupar is not there.
In that case, you can alter the presentation.
Yeah, I can. I would like to invite Dr. Anand Shukla, AGM EESL, for super efficient AC program for today's program now. We'll just change the order. Over to you, Dr. Anand Shukla.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta, and thank you to Garnaik sir, Karmakar ji, Jain Saab, Goel Saab, and also a big thank you to PhD Chamber of Commerce and ICA to allow me to present on super efficient air conditioning program. So as Garnaik sir has already set the stage, so I have only 200 slides for today's presentation, but I will keep it short. So I hope you can see.
Are you sharing some slides?
Ji. I think I have to allow Zoom to.
Paramjeet, please allow him to share the sites,
No, I think
presentation.
actually I have the permission, but it is asking for some permission. Okay, is it visible now?
Yeah, it is visible now. Yeah.
Okay. So I have only, as I said, I have only 200 slides for today's 10 minutes. So I will just run through the slides and
You can only just focus on national replacement probably in this AC program. Maybe relevant sites only.
No, I was just taking it lighter. It's only 20 slides and I will focus on 4 or 5 slides. So basically,
Hello.
I will briefly present on the global energy scenario and talk about the role air conditioning plays when it comes to sustainable development and the sustainability, and how the trends are increasing, how the trends are changing, and how this will grow in couple of decades to come, and what challenge it brings in front of us. Then I'll talk briefly about the standard labeling program. I will not go into detail, but I'll talk about the super efficient air conditioner launched by EESL, and then I'll leave the conclusion and wave forward to you. How do we scale up the air conditioning program, which has been launched recently by EESL? So as you already know that the mean temperatures are rising every year, every day, every minute, because of only one reason, that human activity is increasing day by day. And this is because of several reasons. One of the reason of this rise in temperature is the use of air conditioning. If you could see this slide, the per capita air conditioning in India is the least among all the nations, which is mentioned on the slides. For example, the highest is in the United States, followed by Japan and countries like China. And I am surprised also that, you know, the per capita cooling demand in India is this is because of the big population we have. So basically what we are talking about is this cooling demand in India is definitely going to rise, because the affordability, the per capita purchasing power is increasing every day. So the middle class is also who was previously taking a sleeper class is now going in an air conditioning train and taking air conditioning cars. So basically the air requirement for air conditioning will be growing, and there is an urgent need to address this increase in air conditioning through energy efficiency. So so basically what I want to present is the annual cooling degree days, they have increased substantially, and the cooling degree days are those days over a period of 1 year where you need an air conditioning. So this is continuously increasing day by day, and we have to do something. And if we keep on using the air conditioning as we do now, that is called business as usual. So we will be using around 4.5 billion air conditioners by the end of 2050, and which is quite a lot. So you will see that it is around 4 to 5 times increase in the use of air conditioners, and we do not have that much of resources. And when we are talking about switching to renewable energy and limited use of fossil fuels, this becomes even more challenging, because renewable energy will not be able to address all this requirement. This I'm already talking about air conditioning. There are other technologies which also need energy, so we have to use the energy wisely. And the the emissions from the cooling sector will set to grow to 90% by 2050, as covered compared to 2017 levels. And similarly, we have to also link this increasing energy for the air conditioning with CO2 emissions. So with the increase in air conditioning, the total emission will also rise to around 12 gigatons of CO2 equivalent by 2050. So this is a global scenario. And so to address these scenarios, several actions has been taken by the country. And one of the initiative, or one of the plan which has recently been launched by the MOEFCC was the India Cooling Action Plan. This India Cooling Action Plan was launched in March 2019. And this I have taken 3 objectives from this cooling plan, which directly relates to the super efficient air conditioner program. So this cooling plant action plan talks about reduction in cooling demand up to 25% in the next 2 decades. So you will see, you notice already 2 years have already gone. So now we have 18 years to achieve this target. And this also talks about reduction in refrigerant demand. This is also very important because whenever we think about air conditioning, refrigerant also comes into picture. And there has been several protocols and Montreal, Kyoto, and so on. So they all talk about reduction in refrigerant or phasing out of refrigerant. So this also is very important when it comes to air conditioning. And when it comes to refrigerant and the impacts of refrigerant on the ozone layer and also the global warming, the training and certification also becomes very important. So the cooling action plan also talks about training 100,000 technicians by 2023, and is also challenging for us. So when we launched the super efficient air conditioning program, we wanted to understand what is the market for the air conditioning sector in India. So what these are the few outcomes from the study which we have conducted in September, October last year. And the study revealed that the total market, a total air conditioning market for air conditioning is only 6%. The ACs, 6% of the population is using the ACs in India. And out of these 6% of the total air conditioners being used in India, 60% of the ACs are 3-star ACs. So basically the target for us is to replace all the 3-star ACs with a 5-star air conditioner. So now when we talk about these 6% of the ACs and the 3-star ACs, so there it is also important to see how many ACs are sold in terms of numbers. So every year 8 million, करीब 80 lakh ACs are sold. So you can imagine that out of 8 million ACs, 60% of the 8 million is 3-star, and this will set to grow by 4.5 times in the next 2 decades. So by 2038, this 8 million will be roughly around 40 million. And to meet that energy demand, we will need a lot of energy. We will need a lot of total primary energy. So we have to do something. So this total primary energy supply will also has to match with the increasing demand of air conditioning. And this will also grow from 60 million tons of oil equivalent in 2017 to 216 million tons of oil equivalent by 2037-38. So this brings a big challenge in front of us. And ESL addressed this challenge well in time, well in sync with the launch of India Cooling Action Plan. And I also would like to present the numbers which I have shown in terms of graphs, how the graph will look like going down the line. And these are based on some estimates, some calculations. So you see, so the increase in demand will be, let's say, almost constant for the next 10 years. But after 2028, the demand will grow very steeply. So definitely the planning has to be done well in advance, and 10 years when it comes to phasing out the refrigerant, switching to superior technology is very short period of time. So that is why this super efficient air conditioning program becomes very important. And I'm talking about super efficient, why I'm not talking calling it 5-star AC, because there is something behind it, which I will reveal as I go down the presentation. So now linking with this demand for space cooling, I will also link it with the various sectors. So you will realize that this many, thousands of gigawatt hours or terawatt hours will be required in 2038. So if you go to the Ministry of Power website, you can see what is the present generation capacity and link this with the energy required for air conditioning. Then you will see that where we stand and what we need to do. This is something which is very important for today's world when we talk about only consumption. So yeah. So now I also will present like why this program becomes relevant and important. So every 2 years the BEE changes, or BEE upgrades the star labeling. So whatever AC which is 5-star, after 2 years it becomes 4-star, and so on. So as of today, the 5-star AC, the rating, IACR rating, which is Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, until 2018 it was energy efficiency ratio. However, now we have latest technology that incorporates the inverter technology or the variable speed compressors. So the performance is measured in terms of Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, and it is a number, it is a ratio as it mentions. And the 5-star IACR value starts from 4.5 as of today. So just a minute. So basically, I think I will not talk about this slide. Garnax has already mentioned. And so we have launched a super efficient air conditioner in July 2019. And the IACR value of the AC which we have launched is ISEER 5.4. So now you will see that this the efficiency of this AC is even higher than the base 5-star AC, and the saving potential is even higher. So this program was launched. The program partners are United Nations Environment, Asian Development Bank, and Global Environment Facility. And the OEM for this phase of the super efficient AC program is Voltas, and it is being implemented by Energy Efficiency Services Limited. So as I mentioned, that the base 5-star AC is IACR 4.45, and the IACR of super efficient air conditioner we launched has IACR of 5.4. So definitely there is some 10 to 20% of saving, at least between the two 5-star ACs, depends on the hours of operation and the electricity tariff in your area. So initially we targeted to increase or to deploy the AC to the retail customers, because most of the retail customers, they have a limited purchasing mindset. So they will go for a 3-star, which matches their pocket. So we launched this AC at very competitive price, 41,300. And during those times last year, not very long back, the AC of 5.3 IACR, the cost of 5.3 was 65,000. So you can imagine that this 41,300 is almost 30% reduction in the price we are talking about. And we also here it is also very important for me to mention that we have also facilitated the buyback of old and used ACs, and we also ensured that these bought back ACs are recycled according to the standard procedures, so that we also address one of the three objectives of India Cooling Action Plan, or in fact 2 objectives, which talks about the refrigerant as well as the training of technicians and skilled person. So so coming to this year we have observed that because of we with an objective to increase the deployment of ACs, we further made the prices very competitive and also increased the warranties on the ACs, and also make reduce the the installation cost. So you can see now the price of this AC is below 40,000, which is also one of the key parameter when a customer, especially talking about retail customer, they have certain numbers in their mind. So we have also made it very competitive, and still this price for this IACR rating for this performance, for as Garnax has mentioned that we are also providing warranties and AMCs, which is very competitive. This is a very competitive offering which so just in order to increase the awareness among the retail customers, we have also made available as savings calculator on the website www.eslmart.in, and on this calculator you can just slide the ratings of your existing AC or the AC which you would like to buy, and the AC which is in your mind, and then you can set the rupees per kilowatt hour or the unit price of electricity in your area, and then daily use and annual operating months, and then you will see how much of energy you would save from this 5-star or super efficient air conditioner. So most of the time when we talk about all the theoretical numbers and all, people often ask us, have you done some pilot? Have you checked? Have you measured the performance? Have you measured the saving potential of the ACs? So then our answer for all those questions is always yes, because we have done one pilot project and we have done a pilot study, and this pilot study was done with a super efficient AC of 1 TR capacity, and the IACR of this AC was 5.2, and the focus of today's presentation is IACR 5.4, which is even superior. So you see from this graph, when we talk about IACR 5.2, that there is an immediate reduction of 31.6% sorry, energy consumption of this IACR 5.2 AC. So for 5.4, it will be even higher. And this has never gone above 14 kilowatt hour per day. 14 units से ज़्यादा इसने एक दिन में कभी भी consumption नहीं किया था. Below it was always above 18 kilowatt hour. पहले 18 units लेता था. Now it is maximum 14 units per day it is consuming. So definitely, and if you take the average, it is always attractive. So definitely there is a saving, and this is a case study which we have done in one of the ATM sites in Mumbai. And taking forward this study, we are in discussion with several well-known banks and public sector and private companies, and we are in a process of deploying the super efficient ACs in the branches, ATMs, and so on. Now I think it is also very important for us to know, because we started the website for retail customers, and we have different approaches for retail customer, keeping in mind their priorities and the turnaround time. So we have a different flow of customer care, and we ensure that all the grievances, all the complaints are resolved in a minimum turnaround time. However, because of we had a lot of learnings during the COVID lockdown. Because of lockdown, there were problems because of logistics and so on. So this is the process we follow when we talk about customer care. So as soon as the customer orders a product on the website, whenever the issues are related to technology or service maintenance, it is being taken care by Voltas, and those standards are as per industry standards. And whenever the customer care support is required for billing, invoicing, and all, so EESL takes care of the issues. It is also very important for me to mention that the delivery time for the ACs in tier 1 cities, the big metro cities, is 3 days, and for other cities it is 7 days. However, we always try to make it quick. When it comes to institutional clients, so most of the times the discussion is a bilateral discussion, and we submit a formal proposal, and we also submit how much would be the savings. And because after the lockdown, most of the big clients, they are also approaching us and asking us if we have some ESCO concept. So we are in touch with big industries, big around 400, 500 ACs. Orders are waiting to be finalized, and these models are on ESCO basis. So we are also available to discuss on the upfront payment model as well as ESCO model, and we also can discuss in detail on what would be the business model, and this can be discussed separately and bilaterally. So I think that is all I would like to mention in my short presentation. And with this, I end my presentation. And in case there are some questions, you may please ask in this panel discussion, or please feel free to write us or call on this mobile number. This landline number is also available on WhatsApp. So you can also drop messages, and we will be happy to respond to your questions. Just one more thing is, I also would like to share email ID of the website for the that is mart, mart@eesl.co.in, and we will be happy to provide further technical or the business model with you separately. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Anand Shukla. Very interesting presentation. In fact, today only we have come to know about MART, EESL MART. We also didn't know. So it's very interesting to know that EESL has come on energy efficient motors. So we are very thankful to ICA for creating this kind of platform between PhD chamber and EESL also. And this is very interesting that right now around 8 million ACs are being used. you said that this figure is set to go by around 30 million by 2030. This is what you said?
जी, around this. So basically, as of now, this is 8 million and it will grow by 4.5. So this is an estimate. अगर मैं 5 times भी लगाता हूँ, 8 5s are 40. So 40 million ACs will be bought every year. क्योंकि अभी जो share है, that is only 6%. और the picture I showed in the beginning कि इंडोनेशिया में 96 kilowatt hour per person per annum है, इंडिया में it's only 69.
Okay.
So this will definitely grow because अभी देखिए जो पहले स्लीपर में चल रहा था वो आज AC में है, and every house in Delhi at least have one, you know, most of the houses have one AC. So जैसे लोग उसको scale up करेंगे, we will not be able to meet that total primary energy demand in question. Air conditioning तो हो जाएगी, but that amount of energy required to do that air conditioning has to be brought down. अगर आप देखो कि every year दिल्ली की जो power demand है 500 megawatt is it increases every year. जैसे peak summer आती है, इस साल शायद नहीं था क्योंकि we were working from home and the requirements were very different. But हर साल 500 megawatt add होता है. ये पिछले 7-8 साल का trend है. तो उस 500 मेगावाट को टैप करने के लिए एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी इज द ओनली सॉल्यूशन बिकॉज़ द स्कोप ऑफ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी इज वेरी लिमिटेड.
Yeah, very good. So thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. Do we have Mr. Abhishek Dhupar here? Mr. Dhupar?
Yes, Dr. Mehta, I'm there. My apologies to everyone for sudden
no problem.
disruption.
So kindly give your presentation now.
Sure, I'm sharing this.
Yeah, sure.
So is this visible?
It is not yet visible. Yeah, it is visible now.
Sure. So once again, good afternoon, everyone, and my apologies for sudden disconnection in my internet that time. So as the co-panelist in the morning have told about the National Motor Replacement Program, given a overview of it, I'll present the program in detail, and we are happy to work closely with ESL for this program. And I'll start my presentation now. So basically, ICA India is a knowledge-based organization which works closely with the policymakers, manufacturers, end users, supply chain to promote the energy efficiency and energy sustainability in the value chain. Also, we work in the different arenas like distribution transformers, air conditioners, wire and cable power quality, where there's a sustainable use of copper. Hence, our motive is how we can benefit, how the user can benefit through this. So coming on to why to focus on motors, as rightly told by Garnaik ji and Mr. Goel in the morning, that the motors in the industrial has a large consumption, and these are the workhorses in the industry. So the share of motors, as you can see, is close to 53% in the industry. Hence, it is vital for any industry to basically focus on improving the energy efficiency of the motors. Now, why is there a need for a national program? So as we heard that there was a recent DIPP quality control order in 2018, which has mandated I2 as the minimum energy performance standard in India. Now, as you can see in the pictorial representation alongside that, I1 was the basically standard efficiency motor, which has now been banned, and I2 and above are now available. So ESL has brought up a voluntary program for the industries so that they can adopt I3 easily and address the higher upfront cost barrier as well as the financial barrier with respect to procuring these motors. And as you all know that these motors are installed motors are basically typically inefficient, or you can say of efficiency I1 and below. So there is a huge scope to procure these I3 motors under NMRP and benefit from it. So this was the quality control order which we all were talking about. Now coming on to having an idea about once you replace an I1 motor with an I3 motor, so what are the improvements in the efficiencies, or let's say the reduction in losses? So as you can see in the approximate 3 categories, small, medium, large, you see the jump from in a 4-pole efficiency, which I've highlighted, of let's say 2.2 kilowatt 79.7% I1 efficiency to 86.7, which is an I3 efficiency. So you can see there is a good amount of improvement. And as you go up the ladder, the difference reduces, but at the same time, because the consumption of a 55 kilowatt, 75 kilowatt motor will be huge, hence this small difference also makes a big impact. So that is why it is necessary. And just to brief you about the electric motor driven system, as you know that motor is typically driving any equipment. So it can be a centrifugal load, like pump, compressor, fan, blower, or it can be a conveyor or a crane, anything. So now whenever you would like to see the entire motor driven system, the motor is the key of improving the system efficiency also. So but a point is to be noted that whenever you replace the motor in a current system, so you need to at least match the RPM of the new motor with that of your load requirement, which will ultimately reduce your input consumption, and which I can illustrate you through an example. So here if you see that there is a motor which is driving a fan, and you see there is this efficiency of an old motor which is close to 89%, while when we replace this motor with an typically I3 motor, you see the improvement is there in the motor efficiency, as well as there is an improvement in the system efficiency. So you see that the output being constant, your input consumption will be reduced. There is also another method that in case you do not match with the load RPM, with the increased efficiency of an I3 motor, you will end up getting more productivity from your pump or a fan or a blower or compressor. So that is also there. So ultimately, industry can see whether they want to go for a productivity increase or they want to maintain the same productivity but reduce their input power consumption. So moving on to how ESL came up with the NMRP, and before that what were the studies which was done by ESL to establish the savings. So ESL had conducted pilots in various clusters of around 40 motors in clusters like textile, brass, chemical, and this was automotive giant Mahindra and Mahindra. So you can see these savings which were received by typically replacing an older I1 or below motor with I3 was in the range of 10 to 16%, and this was done on the 4 type of applications, which were fan blowers, pumps, compressor, and processing machines. So this is how ESL came up with the confidence of coming up with the National Motor Program. Now, just to give you an overview about how NMRP is working. So NMRP program and administrator is Energy Efficiency Services Limited, and this program is only targeted for the industries and commercial establishments, and it is typically an LT induction motor. So hence there is no going to the residential sector, and the entire program is basically done through an open and transparent bidding process by ESL, which is a very easy process done online to invite the tender from the various bidders. And this is done basically to achieve the reduction in price, and that price reduction benefit can be easily passed to the customers. ESL always ensures that the warranty period is up to the project duration period. So if ever the customer is going for an ESCO model of 3 years project duration, so typically the warranty will also remain for the entire period. So this all is managed through an online dedicated web portal. I'll just explain you how this model works. So basically ESL will aggregate the demand from industries like you, and once we get the inventory from your end, we basically do the procurement through the open tendering, and once that is done, the prices are sent through a proposal. That proposal also not only has the project, not only has the material cost, but also gives you the value added features the program is providing, and a complete package proposal is submitted to the customer for the motors. And accordingly, the once the agreement signing or the purchase order is in place from the industry, ESL then starts the delivery of motors. And once the motors are delivered, depending upon which mode the customer is going to buy the motors from, either upfront or the ESCO model, the repayment will start. And typically, the warranty obligation is done by ESL, which is backed by the motor supplier, and it is given to the industry. Now, before I tell you more about the program details and the business models, I'll just brief you about which motors are covered under this program, so as to no confusion is there. So these are typically three-phase induction motors conforming to I3 class as per the IS/IEC standards. And these motors are typically ranging from 1 HP to 100 HP of various polarities like 2, 4, and 6 pole. And mounting which we provide under this program will be foot mounting as well as the flange mounting. Now, these motors are basically high class motors involving the latest technology and the technical parameters. We have kept in mind what is the industry requirement and whether the industry will be using VFD or not. So accordingly, these motors come with the VFD compatibility feature. So even if you're not using VFD today and might start using it after 2-3 years, still your motor will be suitable for that. Also, for the motors of typically 50 HP and above, you can use these motors with VFD without having a fear of any bearing or shaft currents to be damaging the motor. So insulated bearing is also being provided by ESL in these motors. And all these motors are suitable for the variable torque applications or the centrifugal loads which you have in the utilities, and all these 60-70% of the load can be easily covered through these motors. Now, coming on to what are the unique features of NMRP, why you should go with NMRP rather than the conventional model. So here we can see that under this program, you get the benefit is of the lower purchase price of i3 motor, which when compared to retail market price is around 20% lower. Apart from that, you get an warranty which is almost the double of double time period currently available. So in market currently the warranty norms are 12 to 18 months, while ESL will directly give you 36 months warranty on each motor. And apart from that, ESL ensures that the quality of motor is intact and there is no duplicacy or any issue in the motor. So there is a pre-dispatch inspection exercise conducted by ESL for all lots when these motors are ready at the supplier's end. So the ESL does inspection, and also the routine test and the type test are done on the motors to ensure that the performance is not compromised. Now, one of the best feature of this program is that the industry does not need to bother about the capex or opex at their end. So if they want to replace 50 motors but are currently having a budget which will only help them to maximum replace 10 motors, so they need not worry. They can propose ESL that we would like to buy entire 50-100 motors from you, and if you can help us out. So in that case, ESL provides you the entire upfront investment, right from procuring of the motors till the delivery of the motors. And once the motors are installed to you installed at your end, you start getting the benefit, and then you start your repayment. So typically there is a small financial cost added to it depending upon the time period of your project. Also, no paperwork apart from a bank guarantee is required. So no credit rating is reviewed or no balance sheets are reviewed. Only requirement is a bank guarantee which can be furnished to ESL, and ESL on that behalf will extend the entire investment to you. Now, the typical ESL business models The one which is a conventional model is the PMC model. Here, basically the entire upfront investment is done by client. So ESL facilitates the entire project from the inventory collection to walkthrough audit if required, then the procurement facilitation uh, on your behalf from the manufacturer, and then the entire warranty obligation and project monitoring is done by ESL. So here the project cost incurred by the customer is nothing but the cost or the price of motor which is discovered in a fair open bid process through tender, and there is a nominal PMC fee charged by ESL on that motor cost, and this is your total project cost. While if the clients are interested in going in the ESCO model, which is basically the financial model, here the entire project cost is uh, up to the delivery is same as it was there in PMC mode, but there is a financial cost added to it, which will basically be a component of debt and equity in a ratio which we will share with you during the proposal. But mind you, the benefit in ESCO model is the shared savings approach. So whatever proposal is submitted by ESL is submitted in such a manner that if 100 rupees saving is being received by the industry after installing the motor, so it has to only repay ESL around 70 to 80 percentage of that 100 rupees. So balance 20-30 percentage is retained by the client. So I'll explain you this phenomena further in my slides through an case situation. So let's say we have a requirement, the industry has a requirement of 25 number motors of different ratings, different polarities, different mountings. So ESL furnishes, I mean, basically analyzes the energy saving potential and then furnishes a proposal to the industry based on the inventory collection which has been done. And based on that energy saving model, there is a calculation done for the both the models, which is again given to client for their analysis that whether they want to whether they are benefiting from the PMC model or the ESCO model. So just to give you an overview about these models, if you see, there is the energy savings which we calculated in the previous slide was 69,675 for the 25 number motors, and the annual cost savings coming from them, taking grid power cost as around 7 rupees, is close to 4,87,000. Now the capital cost of motors which has been discovered through the tender is 7,72,000, as you can see. So these prices are basically having no extra cost, and all things like transportation cost or your insurance of the motors till your plant, all that is covered under this cost only. So client does not have to pay anything over and above this. Only PMC fees is charged by ESL, which is a admin cost and other things which are involved by ESL with respect to inspection, etc., are taken care in this PMC. And once the entire capital cost of motors is arrived, which is like 8,49,388, this acts as the project cost in the PMC model. So nothing above this the customer has to pay, and the payback period is less than 2 years for this. While once you go in the ESCO mode, the project cost will now also add a component of finance cost, which is like 2 lakhs over and above what the industry was giving for the PMC model. So that extra cost is then divided in 12 quarters, which is like 3 years for the industry. And to understand, I mean, ESL fully understands that the burden on customers should not be there. So they try to basically raise one invoice per quarter. So that is also a benefit, that you install the motor from day one, start enjoying the savings from this motor from day one, but you repay after 3 months. So your first installment will go after 3 months, and then accordingly every 3 month each payment has to be made up to 12 quarters, which will take care of the entire repayment. So this will not disturb the books of the industry and will provide them an advantage to enjoy the upfront investment which is made by ESL. This is in case there is some issue in understanding through table, so we have also presented it through the pictorial representation. Here you see this is the PMC model, which is relatively simpler. So I'll just directly go to the ESCO mode. In ESCO mode, you see that the model is working on the deemed savings approach. So the inventory which is submitted by industry, first the expert sitting at ESL will do the analysis of the baseline consumption for the industry. Once the baseline consumption is found, the target consumption which will be done by which will be consumed by i3 motors is made, and accordingly the savings are monetized and presented to the customers. Now these savings are again the total project cost, which can be divided into two components, which is A and B. A will be the annual repayment, which will be coming out of the savings itself. So you can see out of the 4,87,000 monetized saving, the annual repayment to be done to ESL is 3,49,000, which is close to 72% of the entire savings, while the 28% is retained by the client from day one once the motors are installed. And this project period is there for 3 years. So typically the warranty is also for the 3 years, and hence the industry does not need not worry about whether during installation or after installation, if I face any problem, where will I go? So those kind of queries can be tackled. And this project cost will comprise of basically the, as I told you before, the material cost plus the PMC fees and the finance component, which is broken down into debt part and the return on equity part. Now coming on to whatever ESL has currently interacted with their customers, and the motors have been procured by the customers. So the customers were satisfied, and even they have shared their own case studies with us, which one of them I'll share with you. So this is in the textile sector in the ESCO mode. To give you an example, this customer contacted ESL in around 2 years back and had brought 125 numbers motor of 6 different ratings, as you can see, which was from 3.7 kilowatt to 22 kilowatt. And the typical energy savings which they have got is shared in front of you. I'll just come to the next slide, which will give you a fair idea about the hourly energy consumption between I1 and I3, what they have monitored at their end through the power analyzers and the other equipments which the industry already have with them. So you can see they could get the annual energy savings of close to 66,000 kilowatt hours, and approximate annual cost savings were 14,64,000, while the investment done for next 3 years was to the tune of 20 lakhs rupees, and they could easily recover the entire cost of the motors within the project time period itself. So here, as you can see, the share of cost savings to ESL was 81%, while 19% was still with the industry. So you can see the repayment is being done through the savings itself. And this customer was very satisfied with us, and they have even initiated order of next 300 number motors with ESL. Now, the key takeaways which you can see from this case situation or case study was that the initial investment by the customer was zero. The entire investment was done by ESL. And as I told you, the project cost was divided in 12 quarters. Shared savings ratio was in the ratio of 80 to 20%, 80 by repaid to ESL, while 20 was retained by the industry. Also, what they provided us was that the average motor efficiency improved at their end was 7 to 8%, while the system efficiency improved by 4 to 5%. So it might happen that while replacing the motors, you might because there are shutdowns already taking care, so you also get an opportunity to basically change your pulleys or the belts which will again add on to the improvement in the efficiency. Or if required, the load equipment can also be changed. Like, let's say if you have a 15 or 20-year-old pump and you would like to replace along with motor, so your efficiency impact even increases. And also by using the i3 motors, the motor temperature itself comes down because of the energy efficient design. Also the vibration and noise levels reduce. So that also was reported by the customer as to the tune of 2% average reduction in the temperature and vibration level. So now this is a very important thing which can be visited by the industries. This is an online web portal dedicatedly made for National Motor Replacement Program. So you can get all relevant information about the program, and this is not just a portal which will provide you information, but also you can create your login, send your inventories, and a proposal will be generated for you as soon as you submit your inventory to ESL. And it also has a very good calculator which you can, while submitting the inventory itself, you can see per motor what are the savings which you can get. So the sophistication is to that level. So you may please note this down. This is www.motor.eeslindia.org. And in case you have any issue, you can send us an inquiry through that, or I'll share my contact details towards the end of the PPT and you may share it with us. So how to basically enroll in this program? The motor inquiry is shared by the client to ESL, and it can be either done through the portal, or we can share an inventory format to you where you can just fill in the basic details which are required for us to prepare the proposal, do the energy saving, cost savings analysis. And once the proposal is submitted to ESL, it is dependent upon the client on how which mode it wants to go for, PMC or ESCO. Based on that, if the ESCO mode is there, there is a signing of agreement, or in case it is basically PMC mode, only the purchase order is required from the client end. Once the order is finalized by the client, ESL instructs the manufacturer to basically deliver the motors directly from their plant to the site of the motor, site of the industry, wherever it is in Pan India. So that is not an issue. At the remotest place also the motors can be delivered. And typically the repayment will start after the delivery of the motors are done to the customer, and the project will be monitored by ESL, and once the repayment is done, the project closure is there. These are the few major customers whom ESL has been serving now. Few more have been added, which will be updating shortly. And so I'm now open for the questions if anyone has. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Abhishek Dupar, for your very detailed presentation. If you can remove the presentation, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have very interesting presentations from different experts so far. And we have some questions here on the chat box. And apart from that, then we will take the questions further. So one of Mr. Mohit Sengal, he writes from CDIL, involve motor manufacturers to promote, of course, that is why this program is there. We are, in fact, ICA, ESL are going to involve the industries. That's the program that's why the program is there. Then he also writes, capacitors must with every motor to improve power factor, which will reduce electricity bill. Yeah, that all these things I'm sure it is having. And then Mr. Babulal writes, the large EPCs and consultants are making the specification such way the selection of motor are organized or oversized than the actual requirement. How EESL will address this? This is the question Mr. Babulal is asking.
Currently ESL is focusing on the replacement of existing stock. And while when you talk about EPC contractors or the consultants, we can surely do a session for them if you want any of your consultant, so we can do a session with them to understand why they are putting oversized motors in certain critical applications maybe. But here the motive is जो आपके यहाँ motors पहले ही लगी हैं and are inefficient, how we can improve them.
Okay, this program is about existing motors, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. And then here Mr. Deep Srivastava writes for particular applications is VFD can be better option than replacing IE3 or IE4.
Certainly, Mr. Deep, VFD should be deployed to improve the energy savings in the system. But at the same time, you need to understand that the motors which are currently used with VFD and are not i3 or let's say not VFD compatible are more harmful. So one option is that you, with the existing motor VFD system, you can go for i3. The other is in case you are not using VFD, you use VFD and still if you want that further energy saving should be there, then you can go upgrade yourself to the higher level of efficiency. So both these options will certainly work out.
Okay. He further writes that bank guarantee is not possible many times. What is the alternative? And of course, he says the capacitor installation will really help improve efficiency.
Right. So, may I request Garnaik ji to address this if he's there?
Mr. Garnaik, are you there? Mr. Garnaik?
Okay, so what we can do, maybe in case of if bank guarantee is not possible, we also have options. Currently, we have an option of revolving bank guarantee also. So if that can be given for at least 1 quarter or so.
I think Mr. Garnaik has also come.
LC.
Okay.
We have an option of letter of credit also. Meanwhile, we are trying to discuss with DISCOMs and how we can basically have a on-bill financing model where no separate security will have to be submitted by the customer. It can be, those EMIs can be collected by the DISCOM itself on behalf of ESL. So that will help reduce that burden also on the customer.
Okay. So Mr. TK Sarkar writes that is there any buyback option for IE3 motor procurement?
Sir, currently there is no buyback option in this. Why? Because there are certain industries who say that first we need to understand that the buyback of motor does not fetch you any significant amount. So these motors are somehow being scrapped at the end of their lifetime. So when you have typically used a motor for 15 years or so, there is nothing left in it so that anybody buys it back at a good price. So this goes at somewhere around 40-50 rupees per kg. So for that, ESL can certainly help you out in getting connected to a reliable recycler who can provide you the solution for your buyback. But as such, ESL is not providing any scheme for buyback.
Okay, fine. We have Rajesh, Mr. Rajesh Tarapati. He writes, is it necessary to replace pumps along with the motor?
Mr. Rajesh, if you want to replace the pumps, that is also a welcome step, as you are you might be knowing that for centrifugal load, the power consumed varies with the cube of the speed. So once you use a higher efficiency motor with a higher RPM, it might happen that your pump will give you a higher productivity. In case you want to have a new pump, which is also an energy efficient pump to match your energy efficient motor requirement, motor speed, that is also required. So if you would like to go for that, your quantum of energy savings will definitely improve a lot.
Okay, good. So some people have asked for presentation by EESL. I don't know, Dr. Anand Shukla, would you like to share the presentation?
Yeah, sure. I think I was in fact thinking to share the presentation on my own with the PhD CCI.
Yeah. Please share it with us. We will share it with the people who have asked for it.
And also we
That's a
can
good
share
idea,
a
actually.
draft agreement with the participants. So if they want to deploy for ACs in their premises, they can also have a look on that.
In fact,
Sure.
the presentation made by all experts can be shared with PhD, and PhD can then distribute it
Yeah,
to whoever
we'll do
asks.
that. Yes.
That's a very good idea, in fact.
Yes.
Anandji, I think the one person is asking what is the technology behind super efficient ACs, if you can.
So basically,
In fact,
actually,
I have a question here.
I was seeing the comment from Mr. Sudhir Marwaha.
Yeah.
And, Mr. Marwaha, actually, the technology, as I mentioned in my presentation itself, that until 2018, we were rating the ACs, in EER form. So basically, energy efficiency ratio. And now when we talk about, the Indian seasonal energy efficiency ratio, it takes into consideration that previously the compressor used to switch on and off. So it was like a switch. या तो वो चालू होता था या बंद होता था. तो जब भी वो चलता था वो फुल स्पीड पे चलता था. And whenever the compressor used to start, it puts immediate load on your MCB and all. तो कई बार होता था आपके घर में 2 AC हैं, जैसे आप तीसरा चलाओगे तो MCB ट्रिप हो जाती थी. So that was the technology previously. जो फ्रिज में भी यही यूज होते थे. But now the technology has changed. So the compressor it ramps up and ramps down its RPM. जो वेरिएबल फ्रीक्वेंसी ड्राइव इस तरह से उस मॉडल पे काम करता है. तो so basically it does not put immediate load on your, let's say, the connected load in your house. So I just given my own example. So when we moved to our new house, so we had one window AC and one 3-star AC. So as soon as we used to switch on the window AC and my fridge and microwave is on, the MCB used to trip. And the reason was this window AC having EER, or let's say the normal compressor on and off. So जैसे वो on होता था मेरी MCB trip होती थी. What I did is I replaced that window AC with on and off type of compressor with a inverter type of AC. So after that, earlier I was able to use only one AC or at the most 2 AC and no other equipment. Let's say fridge भी अगर on off होता था तो वो trip होती थी. So in today's times, I can use 3 ACs simultaneously, and the reason is this inverter technology plus the third AC I bought in my house was 5-star AC. So the power consumption has gone down even very below a 900 watt. The power is the 750 watt for this AC. It's like पहले हमारे मतलब it's nothing. So that is the technology we are talking about, and it also, to improve the energy efficiency, heat transfer, we also use copper in the air conditioners. So I think
Okay, then we have CP Vidya.
Dr. Mehta, he has a question.
Right.
Who has a question?
Hello,
Mr.
question.
Rakesh.
Rakesh ji, you have a question?
Right. Just to have an idea.
Yes, please.
The price of the 5-star of the 1.5 ton AC as something around 39,000 or 41,000, reduced to 39,000 rupees. What is the comparative price of a normal AC?
Sir, yes, I think that is a very good question.
AC available in the market, not a super efficient one. Is 39,000. What about a normal AC?
Sir, I give a you can check on your own. आजकल तो मतलब I think we very quickly go to online shopping. आप सबके मोबाइल में एप्लीकेशन होगी, आप डालिएगा 5-star AC. And what you will notice is you will get the price 45,000-46,000, but you will never get to see the IACR. और वहीं पर सारा गड़बड़ हो जाती है. So आपको वो 4.5 जो है that is also 5-star, और हमारा 5.4 है that is also 5-star. So basically that 45 or 46,000 जो आपको ऐप पे या इंटरनेट पे दिखा रहा है ई-कॉमर्स वेबसाइट पे, that actually if you translate the whole life cycle saving और आप देखोगे तो it goes above 52-55,000 for that 5.4. दूसरा उसमें warranties नहीं है, या मतलब warranty also is not clear. So those are the things. Even we were trying our level best to put this AC on the website of, let's say, GEM पे, government marketplace. वहाँ पर भी there is no 5-star rating और IACR value नहीं है. तो if we put our ACs, तो शुरू में लगता है कि भाई the prices are higher, but actually it is not. अगर आप नॉर्मल अमेजोन या फ्लिपकार्ट पे जाएंगे तो प्राइस ऑफ 5-star AC is 45,000 आप दिखेगा इस कॉल के बाद, एंड यू विल सी कि भाई इट्स विदाउट even comparing the IACR, the price is lower. So
marketing trick, I understand.
Okay. So yeah, are you done? Yeah. Okay. Older motor having different sizes and frame. So how do we overcome that?
So currently, what ESL is providing to the customers is the i3 motors with standard frame size, as mentioned in the IS 12615. But in case the customer has a frame size which is different to that, then that thing can be taken care by the manufacturer of that motor, because he can only provide that what are the non-standard features in that motor. Why was that motor built in a non-standard frame? So that study needs to be done through the manufacturer itself.
Okay. So Mr. Rajesh Kumar writes whether EESL can share the copy of their EESL agreement currently signed with the client. WRT ESCO plan.
Okay.
At our mail.
Okay. Rajesh ji, we can certainly share a draft, or let's say a signed sample ESCO agreement with the client, which you can maybe vet it through your legal or commercial department for your ease.
Okay.
So you can just drop an email to us and we'll share it with you.
Okay. So somebody is writing buyback scheme is available. Of course, I think it is available, but I mean, it will not fetch anything, right? Buyback scheme is definitely available, right?
Buyback is not available, but we can connect you to a recycler, or maybe we can pilot a model with you if you have huge number of motors.
Okay.
That we can certainly do.
Okay. So it can be arranged.
Yes.
Okay. Old DC motor can also be part of this scheme?
No, sir. This program is catering only specifically to 3-phase LT AC induction motors, not DC.
Okay, AC. Okay. Then, sir, what is the minimum number of motor which can be initiated as replacement program for this? Mr. Johnson writes.
So for SMEs, we are ready to do it with 10 numbers of motors at least. And for large corporates, we look at a number higher, maybe close to 25-30 motors.
So minimum 10 motors should be there.
Sure. Minimum 10 motors can be taken care.
Not less than 10 motors.
Yes.
Okay. Not all motors are operated at full load. However, the saving you show are at full load. What's your comment?
Interesting question, sir. I'll share a chart with you if you drop an email to me. When you compare an I1 motor to I3, the efficiencies at full load, then coming down to 75% of the load and coming down to 60% of the load, you see that I3 motors will give you typically the same efficiency of the full load up to 70% of the load, while this was not the case for I1 and below motors. Also, when you reduce your load starting from 100% to below, the drop in efficiency levels as compared to I1 is less in I3. So certainly, अगर आप 60-70% पे एक I1 मोटर यूज कर रहे हो और एक I3 मोटर यूज कर रहे हो, उस पे भी पार्ट लोड पे भी efficiencies I3 की better है. So that will take care of your query.
Okay. Mr. Rajesh Kumar writes, as we already entered into agreement with EESL, do we need to withhold our decision for changing compressors? I think, I don't know.
Sir, entirely depends upon the client. So changing the compressor will, as I showed through that illustrative example, that maybe if the motor is only changed, you will be able to achieve reduction in energy consumption by, let's say, 5%, 7%, 10%, depending how old is your motor. But certainly if you replace compressor also with that motor, it will be very good. So that depends again about the budget availability with the client.
Okay. So there's a question, did you replace motors in any spinning mills where the motors are non-standard type?
No, sir. So currently our program is catering because you need to understand, if you are rolling out a program of such a quantum at a national level, or let's say even international level, so we have to standardize it. So hence the frame size or the motors which will be replaced are strictly as per IS standards or IEC standards. And any non-standard motor, if you would like to replace, because demand aggregation cannot be made in such a quantum, hence the program is currently not dealing in non-standard motors, but we can get you connected to the manufacturer if you want.
Okay. Whether ESL has introduced 1-ton energy efficient 5-star AC?
Yes, actually, as I mentioned, we had did a pilot that was based on 1-star AC. So from the previous program, we have a 1.5-star AC of IACR 5.2, and those are Godrej and Panasonic.
Okay.
The program which I am running, it focuses on 1.5-star as of now, and going down the line, we are also including other sizes of the ACs.
So you have not yet introduced, but you have a plan to introduce
Ji.
1-ton AC.
Right.
Okay. So then is a question, is ESSL not promoting EC or BLDC motors for specific applications?
Not right now, sir, because energy efficiency standards are particularly only with LTAC induction motors, and once there are certain efficiency standards like I1, I2, I3 for DC or BLDC, we can look at that.
Okay, then Deep Srivastav writes, basically for thermal power plant of 600 megawatt, have you figured out applications where, he writes, where we can go for replacement directly, because not all motors are running 24 hours.
Sir, we have not done that, but ICA's experience with few thermal power stations where we had given a seminar that was with Koderma Thermal Power Station and Mejia Thermal Power Stations. We could have a technical session where they were convinced and could identify the applications where I3 motors were is now being used. So if you want, that can be done, maybe some kind of analysis if required, but you need to at least share with us the details.
Okay. So with this, we come to an end of this very interesting program of innovative approach for implementing integrated energy efficient solutions in industries and facilities. We thank our very distinguished panelist, Mr. Mayur Karmakar, Managing Director, ICA India, Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jain, Deputy General Manager, DCM Shriram Industries. We also thank Mr. SP Garnik, Executive Director, EESL, Mr. Abhishek Dupad, Program Consultant, ICA India, and also Dr. Anand Shukla, AGM, EESL, and Mr. DP Goyal, our co-chair of Industries, MSMEs Committee, and also all the very distinguished participants who have participated, all the industries who have participated during this program today. We have seen that there has been a tremendous interest and queries from the participants, and they have taken this program very well. And we look forward to see you from different, like in our next programs, which will be conducting along with ICA. And we thank very much our partners of the program like ADB and also UN Environment, GEF, Sustainable Communities, also the Gurgaon Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And thank you very much, one and all, EESL, ICA, for giving us this opportunity to conduct this program for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.